Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rulebook Room. I'm Harv. Let me start with something that feels almost unfair. What happens when a man lies about being unmarried, marries a woman, lives with her, has a child, and then one day turns around and says, "Oh, by the way, I was already married. So legally, you are nothing. No wife, no rights, no maintenance." So the question is, can the law allow someone to benefit from their own fraud? Or will it step in and say, not this time? That's exactly what happens in today's case. Badshah versus Urmila, 2014. And honestly, this is where the Supreme Court stops being just technical. It becomes deeply moral, deeply constitutional. The facts, simple but explosive. We have Badshah, already married to a woman named Shobha, marriage subsisting, two children. Now enter Urmila, a divorced woman, vulnerable, socially dependent, looking to rebuild her life. Badshah approaches her through mediators, promises marriage, performs a marriage ceremony in a temple, and most importantly, he hides his first marriage completely. No disclosure, no hint, nothing. For a few months, everything looks normal. They cohabit. She becomes pregnant. Then, suddenly, the first wife shows up. And just like that, reality collapses. Now, what does Badshah say? Stay quietly or leave. No accountability, no explanation. And things get worse. Abuse, harassment, suspicion about the child. Eventually, Urmila leaves, gives birth to a daughter, and then she does what the law allows, files for maintenance under Section 125 CRPC. The legal defense, classic technical argument. Badshah's defense is textbook. Yes, even if everything she says is true, the marriage is void. Why? Because under Hindu law, second marriage during subsistence of first marriage is invalid. So he argues she's not my legally wedded wife, so she gets no maintenance. And he backs it with precedents like Yamuna Bai Anantrao Awadh versus Anantrao Shivram Awadh and Savita Ben Somabai Bhatia versus State of Gujarat, which clearly say second wife in a void marriage is equal to no maintenance. So legally, his argument is strong, almost airtight. But the court asks a different question. The Supreme Court pauses and instead of asking, is she technically a wife? It asks, how did this situation arise? And that changes everything. The turning point of the fraud. The court finds he knew he was already married. He intentionally hid it. He induced her into marriage. This is not a mistake, this is deception. And now comes the key principle: no one can be allowed to take advantage of their own wrong. The court says, yes, earlier cases deny maintenance to second wives, but those cases apply when woman knew the marriage was invalid. Here, she was completely deceived. So the court draws a crucial distinction. If the situation is that woman knowingly enters void marriage, then it will result into a no maintenance. But if the situation is that woman is tricked into marriage, then it will result in maintenance. This is how the court harmonizes precedent. Section 125 CRPC is reinterpreted by the court. Now comes the most important move. Section 125 CRPC is usually read narrowly. Wife is equal to legally wedded wife, but the court says that interpretation defeats justice in cases like this. So instead, it adopted a purposive interpretation. What does purposive mean here? The court says law is not just text, law is purpose. And the purpose of Section 125 CRPC is to prevent destitution, to protect vulnerable women, and to ensure basic dignity. So, if a man cheats a woman into marriage and then uses that very illegality as a defense, that would make the law a tool of injustice. And the court refuses to allow that. The Supreme Court says, for the purpose of Section 125 CRPC, she will be treated as a wife, even if technically the marriage is void. This is huge because this is not just interpretation, this is judicial correction of injustice. The court is essentially saying we will not reward fraud, we will not punish the victim. Now the judgment goes even deeper. It moves beyond black letter law and talks about something powerful: social justice adjudication. The court acknowledges women in such situations are vulnerable. Legal formalities often fail them. Strict interpretation harms them. So, judges must be sensitive to inequality, tilt interpretation towards justice. This is not random activism. The court roots its reasoning in the preamble of the Indian Constitution: justice, equity, dignity, and says interpretation must align with constitutional values. The court even goes philosophical. It refers to justice like Benjamin N. Cardozo to explain law evolves with society. Judges fill gaps. Interpretation is not mechanical. The court also applies Hayden's rule, mischief rule, and asks what mischief is Section 125 trying to prevent. Answer: destitution, exploitation. So, interpretation must suppress the mischief, advance the remedy. The final outcome of this judgment was that maintenance was granted to the woman. Maintenance was granted also to the child. The husband's petition was dismissed. What this case really teaches, let's break it down like a law exam answer. First, Section 125 CRPC is a social justice provision. Second, wife can be interpreted purposively in exceptional cases. Third, fraud by husband changes legal outcomes. Fourth, precedents must be harmonized, not blindly applied. Fifth, courts can bridge gap between law and social reality. What is the bigger picture? This case is part of a larger shift from formal legality to substantive justice, from what does the law say to what is the law trying to achieve. And honestly, this case leaves us with one powerful thought. The law may start with rules, but it ends with justice. Because if the system allows deception to win, then it stops being law and becomes strategy, and that the Supreme Court is simply refusing to accept. Until next time, in the rulebook room, don't just read the law, read what the law is trying to protect. Bye.